Hey GKAR friends. So today is January 26th, 2026, and that means that tomorrow is the big day for the MLS areas going away. I know that this is something that is never fun when processes change, and especially in our MLS, something that you're using every single day in your business. Nobody likes change. Change is hard. But I wanted to give you a little bit of the why, as we've talked about before. This is a field that's going away. There are some excellent resources. You can use zip code, you can use city, county. My personal favorite is actually doing the map itself and drawing in the areas that you want to be searching in. Great thing about that is that you can search multiple areas with that as well. So really enhances the search features for your clients. But let's take a step back and kind of talk a little bit about why does that need to go away. So, back when we held the book, when people had to come in and look through the book to be able to look at houses, that made sense that we would break the city up into quadrants or break the general area up into multiple smaller areas. And they kind of just naturally developed, whether it was because of highways or, other landmarks that kind of created those. But those were completely realtor created. We did that based off of the book itself and how can we break this down into sections so that you're not having to flip through the entire thing. So fast forward 20 years, 25, wherever we're at now, with the internet, and obviously a lot has changed and the way that people search has changed. So those areas no longer make sense because that is not a way that the consumer searches. When the consumer's online, most of the time they're searching either by city, by county, or using a map area for where they want to be. And so those really did become arbitrary lines. That's really the primary reason for removing those. The other piece of that is the RESO data standards. So if you're not familiar with RESO, that is the Real Estate Standards Organization. It's a nonprofit organization, was created back in 2008. And this is a group that their whole premise or purpose is to get us on the same data set. So we're looking at consistent data throughout MLSs. In other words, if I go to another part of the state, if I go to another state, I'm going to see the same fields. They're going to map the same way over to these third-party sites. So we can control what's in our MLS, but once it goes out to the third-party site, which is where most consumers are searching, that's where those standards really help. So as a client, if I am moving to Texas or wherever I think has sunnier, warmer weather right now, although they might not. But anyway, if I'm moving, I know that when I'm looking there, I'm not looking at something completely different. So in other words, in my area, we're not looking at 1,000 square foot ranch just being above grade square footage, and there they're looking at counting above grade and below grade, because that's really going to confuse the consumer. So RESO's purpose is to get those standardized data fields so that we can easily transfer data across and it gets consistent across the nation. And we are working on that with our MLS. Mishrick is actively working on that. And the goal is to continue to improve and adjust the fields that we have and make those more consumer centric. So I hope that gives you a little bit of the background, a little bit of the why, and maybe helps you understand why this is so important. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a holler anytime. Have a great day.